Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here on such short notice. Lately, there have been a lot of complaints brought to my attention regarding sexual harassment. Today, we will be covering three main topics. Number one, what exactly is sexual harassment? Number two, what to do when you are being sexually harassed? And number three, the consequences of sexual harassment. So what is sexual harassment? The EEOC has defined sexual harassment as any unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or any other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature when submission to such conduct is made either openly or indirectly, or submission to rejection of such conduct by an individual is used as a basis for employment decisions affecting such individual, or such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. Unwelcomed behavior is the critical word. Unwelcome does not mean involuntary. A victim may consent or agree to certain conduct and actively participate in it, even though it is offensive and unpleasant. Therefore, sexual conduct is unwelcome whenever the person is subjected to it, considers it unwelcome. Whether the person is in fact welcomed, a request for a date, sex-oriented comment, or joke all depends on the circumstances. Sexual harassment includes many things: actual or attempted rape or sexual assault, unwelcome pressure for sexual favors, unwanted deliberate touching, leaning over, cornering or pinching, unwanted sexual looks or gestures, unwanted letters, telephone calls or materials of a sexual nature, unwanted pressure for dates, referring to an adult as a hunk, babe, honey, baby, whistling at someone, sexual innuendos or stories, personal questions about social or sexual life, touching an employee's clothing, hair, or body, standing close or brushing up against an individual, looking a person up and down, staring at someone, facial expressions, winking, blowing kisses or licking lips, or making sexual gestures with hands or through body movements. Now, following what is sexual harassment, we will now continue to talk about what you need to do whenever you are harassed. Workplace Fairness is a nonprofit organization that works to preserve and promote employee rights. According to Workplace Fairness, when dealing with sexual harassment, there is no best thing to do because every situation is different. However, there are two very important things to remember because they affect your ability to pursue legal action if you decide to do that in the future. First off, say no. One legal requirement for sexual harassment is that the conduct be unwelcomed. Make sure the harasser knows that you consider his or her conduct to be unwelcome. Tell the person that his or her behavior offends you. Firmly refuse all invitations for dates or other personal interaction outside of work. Do not engage in sexual banter or flirt back in response or otherwise send mixed signals. Direct communication, whether verbal or in writing, is better than ignoring the behavior and just hoping it'll go away. Report the harassment to your employer. It is very important that you report the harassment because your employer must know or have reason to know about the harassment in order to be legally responsible for a coworker, client, or customer's sexually harassing conduct. Tell your supervisor, your human resources development, or other department or person within your company who has the power to stop the harassment. It is best to notify them in writing and to keep a copy of any written complaint you make to your employer. Describe the problem and how you want it to be fixed. This creates a written record of you complained and that you want response to it. If there is a policy that employees are supposed to follow when reporting harassment, make sure you follow the policy to the full extent possible. While you may not think complaining will do any good, your company may later claim that it would have stopped the harassment if they had known about it. So reporting the conduct is very important to show that the company was aware of the harassment. Now, what are the consequences of sexual harassment? According to a 2005 article by Western Cape Government, sexual harassment can result in cost to companies. Harassment costs companies money by reducing productivity, morale, and motivation. If a worker is constantly being concerned that the harasser may strike again, she is very unlikely to work effectively. At the same time, colleagues who are not involved may be demotivated if they are aware of an unacceptable sign of things going on or possible favoritism going on. Companies may lose valuable staff. Many women may resign rather than go through the unpleasantness of confrontation. Many women stay even fewer than 3 months. Regarding legal costs, companies can incur legal costs if the problem is ignored. Action may be brought against an employer who knows or ought to know about the harassment and fails to take appropriate preventive action. Where there are insufficient channels of a complaint, an employer may be held liable even if there was no knowledge of the harassment. Whereas sexual harassment in the past was usually dealt with in industrial court as unfair labor practice, harassment of an employee or prospective employee by an employer or by an employer of the same employer is now expressly prohibited. Because of being declared unlawful, such behavior may lead to both criminal action and civil claims. To wrap this up, when in doubt with sexual harassment, often employees with a supervisor may not be sure if a particular behavior or action is inappropriate. The following not sure tests might be helpful. First, would you say it in front of your mother, grandmother, or stranger? Second, how would you feel if somebody said what you're going to say to a relative, daughter, mother? Or third, would you say the same thing that you're saying to an employee of the same sex? I hope that this has given you a clear understanding of sexual harassment and how we have a zero tolerance policy for such behavior. Thank you all for coming. Now get back to work.